We are currently discussing the 37 practices of a bodhisattva. If afflictive emotions become habitual, they are very difficult to overcome. Therefore, we should use mindfulness and clear awareness to counteract our own afflictions. When these afflictions like attachment first arise, we should immediately uproot them. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. When the seeds of afflictive emotions begin to sprout in our mind stream, we must immediately uproot them. This is very important. As Venerable Gonpa said, to cut off afflictions, we must first recognize their faults. What are the faults of afflictive emotions? What is the true nature of afflictive emotions? What are the antidotes? What are the causes for the arising of afflictive emotions? These are things we should understand. I think after studying the Abhidharmakosha and the root stanzas of the Middle Way, especially the ornament of the sutras, these particular points are explained with exceptional clarity and precision. Only by understanding their inherent flaws can we begin to perceive them as significant defects, and it is through this comprehensive understanding that we can ultimately come to regard them as enemies. Because nowadays many people in the world do not see afflictive emotions as something bad. They even regard afflictive emotions as a kind of happiness. For example, when anger arises, they see it as a sign of heroism. When greed arises, they see it as a mark of being ambitious, of having ideals. Some even think that when ignorance arises, it is a sign of being open-minded. They genuinely feel that this is indeed something exceptionally good, this profound and positive kind of feeling. Therefore, we should follow the ornament of the sutras and contemplate as described in the way of the Bodhisattva. Moreover, it is said that if you want to clearly understand the characteristics of afflictive emotions, you must study the Abhidharmakosha. The Abhidharmakosha is very detailed. I see that after we studied the Abhidharmakosha, many people indeed regarding that matter, but as for afflictive emotions, I have not seen anyone who studied the Abhidharmakosha have fewer afflictive emotions. It seems that for some people, the more they study, the greater their afflictions become. The longer they spend in retreat, the coarser their afflictions get. I've heard some people say that there was a person who did a year-long retreat. When she first came out, she told others about it. Others were very confident in her. She said she had been in retreat for a year. They thought she must have gained a lot of realizations and experiences, but then she started talking about how the housekeeper treated her unfairly, and how the Kenmo was unfair to her. The people around her, even her neighbors, treated her badly. Everything was in complete turmoil. All of her many afflictions just kept pouring out endlessly, one after another. Everyone thought, so this is what her retreat was like. There are cases like this too. Really, sometimes when we have afflictions, I feel like people who are troubled, their karmic roots from past lives are still different. Some people just have fewer afflictions by nature, and their personalities aren't so rough or intense. Some people, on the other hand, have an extraordinary amount of afflictions. Every day they have endless troubles to talk about. This trouble, that trouble. All of them are lined up in a long queue. When one trouble ends, another begins. And when that one ends, the previous one returns. Some people, even though they haven't really practiced, like the ordinary people we meet in the world, who have never had any faith or studied Buddhism, but when you truly talk with them, it's often very pleasant and quite enjoyable. Generally speaking, their hearts are also very open and receptive. They won't get triggered by the slightest thing. They don't immediately become upset or turn hostile. They just aren't like that. So sometimes, perhaps through spiritual practice, I think relying on practice to counteract these things is possible for some people. They can actually make significant progress. But for others, maybe it's just karma at work. When afflictions arise, no one can do anything about it, let alone eliminate them. They might not even have the chance to observe them. So here, when studying the Abhidharmakosha, I'm not sure how it is, but one must listen to teachings on the Abhidharmakosha. At the very least, one should listen to the section on the analysis of the 5 aggregates. Actually, among our 5 aggregates, the Shurangama Sutra also discusses the 5 aggregates at the beginning, and in the Tripitaka, there are also special analyses of the 5 aggregates. There are some as well. The Abhidharma also contains a lot about them. They specifically analyze the 5 aggregates and the 12 sense bases to clearly recognize the fundamental afflictions and the subsidiary afflictions. There are 6 fundamental afflictions. And how many subsidiary afflictions are there? 20-something. There are 20 subsidiary afflictions, right? This is mentioned in Gateway to Knowledge. Whenever any affliction such as greed or anger arises, one should recognize, this is that kind of affliction. For example, when you develop greed, wow, this is greed. It will harm my practice. When anger arises, I've started to feel anger again. When jealousy arises, I've started to feel jealous again. And then among the various subsidiary afflictions, for example, feelings of deep regret, persistent laziness, blatant hypocrisy, and intense burning rage. There are so many of these kinds of afflictions. When these afflictions arise, you immediately recognize them. Actually, first we need to know which things are afflictions. Which are the root afflictions, and which are the branch or subsidiary afflictions. We need to recognize each of these one by one. For example, in the Abhidharma Kosha, its characteristics, its classifications, its functions, all of these are explained very clearly. Especially in the Mahayana Abhidharma, it is explained even more clearly. Then, in your mind, you think, this is an affliction. You clearly recognize it in your mind. Once you recognize it, you can start to battle with the affliction. Actually recognizing it is really important. Oh, I'm starting to feel anger again. Or if I'm starting to feel jealousy again, if it's not too serious, then right at that moment, it's like recognizing a thief when he's in the act of stealing. As soon as someone notices, he doesn't dare continue and pretends. For example, when someone is stealing a phone, he doesn't dare to steal anymore, just like that. Puchongwa Rinpoche taught from his own experience, saying, although I am oppressed by heavy afflictions, you might wonder, Puchongwa is such a good practitioner. How could he be so heavily oppressed by afflictions? But he still gritted his teeth and fought with all his might. He looked as if he was in great pain. We also have some Dharma teachers. Some of them, they themselves don't dare to say it, I am a Kenpo, I am a Kenmo. But deep down, they are suffering a lot. They really think, what should I do? Really, what can be done? They keep enduring, wanting to fight against their afflictions. Geshe Potowa said, one must always maintain mindfulness and clear awareness to observe one's own mind stream, and must make efforts to cut off and prevent all inner afflictions. Bengongjia refers to the aspect of counteracting afflictions. Isn't it said in the words of my perfect teacher that it's very powerful? He said, right now you should place your attention at the doorway of your mind and set a spear of antidote there. It is at the doorway of the mind. It seems like this part is a bit... What he means is, at the doorway of the heart, place a spear of antidote. It seems that in the Tibetan text, as I recall, at the doorway of the heart, a short spear of antidote is placed. There is nothing else that needs to be done. If it is tight, I am also tight. If it's loose, I'll loosen it too. It means that my heart is always like a man with a short spear. If the mind is a bit relaxed, without much afflictions generating. If practicing well, I won't use this remedy right away. If I have this affliction or that affliction in my heart, immediately use this remedy. And that remedy, it means to not let it mess around casually. Langri Tangpa Geshe. In the 8 verses of mind training, it is also said like this. May I constantly observe my own mind, and when disturbing thoughts and afflictions first arise, since they harm myself and others, may I immediately and forcefully cut them off. Because afflictions truly harm oneself and also harm others. So the best way is to cut them off as soon as they arise. This is the best method, and it is also said that even just moving to a new place or simply stretching your body can make afflictions slip away. In our neutral states, for example, whether you are moving house or just walking, or even just stretching lazily, at those times you shouldn't let afflictions stay with you. Don't give them any opportunity. You must make them go away. A true practitioner is like, truly we rejoices in the great masters of the past. All of them, in their own practice, were very good at countering afflictions. Of course, the methods for countering afflictions here, according to the exoteric teachings, are exactly like those described in the way of the Bodhisattva. Afflictions are treated as enemies to be eliminated. But if one attains a higher level, as in Vajrayana now, in that case, after anger arises, you directly observe its true nature, and in that very moment, it can disappear. This is another method. So the practices of each vehicle are different. But here, if we completely follow the exoteric approach, then we use this method entirely to counter afflictions. Actually, in Chinese Buddhism, there are also many good practitioners, including some lay people and some others, who at first were extremely troubled and in great pain. But later, through the blessings of the 3 jewels and the power of their own practice, gradually, truly, it seems their afflictions became less severe. Didn't Zongdunpa say this yesterday? If your practice can counteract your afflictions, then it is true Dharma. If it cannot become an antidote to your afflictions, then what is the point of practicing? Actually, it depends on how severe your afflictions are. If your afflictions are severe, no matter what you say, no matter how diligently you claim to practice every day, your practice is still in a state of failure. You could put it that way. If you can basically overcome your afflictions, then even if you sleep all day and do nothing, if you have no afflictions, that's fine too. You get up in the morning, have breakfast, and then go back to sleep. You sleep all the way until noon. Then at noon, you eat again and go back to sleep. You spend 24 hours like this, except for eating. If you don't eat, that probably wouldn't be okay. If you eat, go to the bathroom, and then sleep like this, because you have no afflictions anymore. If you have no afflictions, why bother with ascetic practices? It's still fine. But if you do have afflictions, then indeed weep. Some people really fight their afflictions very seriously. Sometimes the afflictions win, sometimes the antidote wins. It's just like two young children starting a spirited competition. It's also very much like two children fighting intensely with each other. The Venerable Master Nyazepa also wisely said, when afflictions arise within you, you must absolutely never be negligent in your practice. You must immediately use the antidote to eliminate them. If you can't eliminate them, then make a mandala offering. Perhaps confessing one's misdeeds isn't the right one here. I remember it's arranging offerings. There are different versions of this. Arrange offerings and pray to the Guru and the Yidam deity. Visualize and recite powerful mantras. Actually, if your afflictions are really deep and heavy, if you truly have no other way, these methods should be very effective. Because you may need to accumulate merit. Your merit might be too shallow. You need to arrange some offerings, offer some mandalas, then earnestly pray to the Guru and the Yidam deity. Pray to Guru Padmasambhava, pray to His Holiness, the wish-fulfilling jewel, and also recite some powerful mantras, reciting powerful mantras like Vajra Armor Mantra and also Om Ah Zena Zena Mo Bhagavate. The wrathful mantra of Guru Padmasambhava, recite some of these every day. In this way, even though your afflictions are deep and heavy, with the blessings of the Guru and the Yidam deity, and by practicing some mandala offerings yourself, practicing mandala offerings is very important, because your merit might be too little. Especially when you encounter some profound teachings, people with little merit simply can't manage. They get sick for a while, then troubled for a while, and then adverse conditions arise. At such times, on one hand, you need to practice some mandala offerings yourself, and frequently make prayers. I feel that praying to His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche is truly effective. Sometimes for myself, whether I encounter afflictions or adverse conditions, whenever something comes up, I immediately, for example, recite 100 times Nechin Revo Zewe, the prayer that I usually recite, and then visualize them properly and effectively. Then some afflictions or temporary discomforts won't cause much significant harm to yourself. Even when you experience nightmares or encounter similar unsettling situations, immediately pray to Guru Rinpoche and to His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche. Each of us may indeed have some obstacles, especially when seeking profound teachings. This is common. This year we have sought such a profound teaching as the Nyingtik Yabji, so everyone will definitely encounter some more or less afflictions, adverse conditions, and suffering. Perhaps this is also a kind of sign. Still, we need to pray. This is how it is for me personally. When I first became a monk, didn't I mention before, when I was with the old Khenpo, he said, if I only rely on my own attention, just trying to be mindful myself, sometimes it may not be enough, so praying to the Guru and the three jewels is very important. At that time, I felt this was a very good pith instruction. Ever since then, every time I felt a bit uncomfortable or had a bad feeling, I would often pray to the Guru Rinpoche and to Padmasambhava. In this way, many adverse conditions would dissolve into the Dharma Dhatu, and some would even turn into favorable conditions. Time and again, I was able to overcome many obstacles. This includes our Vajra demon subduing continent, as everyone knows. Now, we truly have such a wonderful Sangha here. It truly has not been an easy journey. If you go outside and try to teach a 7-day course to 10 people, you might be nervous and it may not even succeed. But year after year, we have never stopped for such a long time. This is truly something very rare and precious. So sometimes I also feel that I have persisted for so many years already. And sometimes it feels like I am praising myself. But sometimes I do want to say it. To have truly been teaching the Dharma continuously, without interruption for so many years, I personally think that I myself, among the Khenpos at Larungar, in some aspects of teaching the Dharma, should probably be considered the longest. I've never stopped. Because when we started, it was back in the 1980s. But to still be doing this up to now, this is something that may not be easy for a person in their whole life. Some of us have made aspirations for 3 or 4 years. Now I have already made aspirations for 5 years or 3 years. Can we switch it up a bit? 3 or 5 years is indeed quite a long time. But 30 or 40 years is even longer. Sometimes we also pray for the blessings of the Guru and the three jewels. Otherwise, many things Especially in this degenerate age, the power of demons and non-Buddhists is extremely rampant. Our own strength to do good is very weak. People are like this too. If we commit some negative karma, favorable conditions are everywhere. But if we try to do good deeds, then obstacles arise one after another. So in such a world, it's like a lamp in the wind. Therefore, in this degenerate age, everyone should earnestly pray to the Guru, the wish-fulfilling jewel. I think the Guru, the wish-fulfilling jewel, is truly a great bodhisattva in this degenerate age, manifesting in this world to revive Buddhism. So everyone should rely on the power of dependent origination. Our lineage and our own power of dependent origination, if we pray often, even though it may seem for the time being that obstacles and rather rough situations will appear, but ultimately speaking, things will go more smoothly for everyone. Even if there are some difficulties, perhaps they will also turn into favorable conditions for your spiritual accomplishment. You see, it says here, if we do this, this can make afflictive emotions disappear without a trace. Furthermore, Rinpoche Tokme Sangpo also said, subduing the negative thoughts of the three poisons before any thoughts manifest as the Dharmakaya, before all thoughts have manifested as the Dharmakaya, there is nothing that needs to be recalled at that time. This means that if all our thoughts transform into the Dharmakaya, then antidotes and such are no longer necessary. There is no need for any recollection, no need for mindfulness or clear awareness. None of these are needed. So before this point, do not indulge in deluded thoughts, maniba. Do not let yourself go. Do not become confused. Maniwa is just like dangriwa. At that time, Rinpoche Togme Sangpo used it to refer to people from a certain place. He also said, when afflictive emotions first arise, recognize them clearly. In the middle, you should apply antidotes to cut them off. Later, in order to prevent these afflictions from arising, practice diligently. The Venerable One also practiced in this way in actual practice. Okay?
Sonam dei tamse rupanya tonne de dhamma pase kirgana jirano chupai chupun sonen droa droa sho
bandangara badna sodargye bandangara badna sodargye bandangara badna sodargye